G'day. So in this video we're going to look at creating a bullet or a rocket that's going to come out of the tank. We're going to keep this quite simple. There are functions that will calculate where about the rocket comes out of the tank, and obviously you'd want it to come out of the end of the turret right here. But because of the way the instance creates works, it's actually going to get created way back here at the origin, which means that it may do some odd things, especially if you're spinning this around really fast. You may see it looks like the rocket comes out of here. That's where it does come out of. But without doing some complex calculations that are a bit advanced at the moment, we can't really calculate the position of the end of the barrel relative to its rotation. So we're just going to have to put up with it coming out of the bottom here. Might make the barrel thicker, maybe look at rotating a bit slower or something. So I'll close this down. So I've got an event here on my tank, press space, and in here I'm going to do instance create x, y, and I might do object turret.x, object turret.y, and then I'm going to create an object bullet. And I obviously haven't created that bullet. I have created the sprite, so I'll quickly create the bullet. Obj bullet with that sprite. And click tick. On the sprite, I have centered the sprite. It's only a small one. It's 16 by 8. It's just a little kind of round shell. And we've done that. Now, in order to actually change any properties of this bullet, there's going to be multiple bullets on the screen. Except I don't really need to change anything except right at the start. So what I'm going to do is assign the ID that gets returned from here. So whenever we create something, it creates it, and it will then return its ID. Okay, so it's unique identifier that tells GameMaker what the number of that instance is in the room, or what that object's unique instance is. Because we could have 20 object bullets, but they each have a unique little ID. So I'm just going to store it in this variable for this frame, and then do some stuff with it. After it, doesn't matter. Okay, I don't need to worry about it. So bullet.direction equals object turret.direction. Okay, so it's going to point in the same direction as the turret. Bullet.image angle equals bullet.direction. Okay, we've updated the direction. Now we update the image angle. And then lastly, bullet.speed equals, and I might go in here and create a new variable called bullet speed equals, I'm going to set it to 24. It's going to be 24 pixels a second. So bullet speed, like that. So now what happens is it creates the instance and it sends its identifier to here. And then I can access the properties of that object by using this. Now I won't be able to do it in the future. I can only do it in this frame. Even though this says create here, it's actually the space one. Now I better add that to the top, fire a bullet. So I can then change all these things. And as soon as this is done, as soon as this frame is done, and I push another spacebar again, it forgets about the old bullet. It'll still do its thing. It's still set up to have a direction, image, and speed. And then the new bullet that gets created gets assigned to this variable. And so I can then change the new bullet's direction, because I don't want to go changing every single object bullet direction in the room every time I fire it. That would be a bit odd. I'd be firing a tank shell in this direction, and then I fire one up here, and suddenly all the bullets change direction. That would be unsuitable. You may have noticed that at times I put this little semicolon on the end of lines. In GameMaker, like I put it here, in GameMaker it is not essential. And I'm purposely kind of leaving it off now, except I haphazardly put it in because it is good practice. But for the time being, if you're not familiar with how end lines work, just leave them off. When we get to if statements, we'll look at where end lines actually go. But at this stage, it's not important to worry too much about them. Okay, so this is going to create a bullet, I hope. Now these controls are unusable at the moment because I'm currently set my arrow keys to move, my space bar to fire. Okay, and that's firing. It fires pretty fast. And my mouse to rotate this, so I can't possibly do 3 things at once. I'm actually going to change this space bar. I'm going to change it so it's a mouse event. But don't be fooled into pushing left pressed, because that means that I'm going to have to actually click on the tank to make this work. Instead, I'm going to go global mouse left pressed. And I'll click this. So now I can control my tank and I can click and shoot those. Now, as you can see, sometimes it looks like the bullets are coming out of the wrong side of the tank. That's just something that we're going to have to deal with and not worry too much about now, because we don't understand the maths yet to figure out how to make it actually come out the end of it. So that's all good. I'll click OK, and I better save this now. So I'll just save it and we're good to go. So next video we'll look at adding some extra features to it, but at the moment we've got the movement down and all of our code is pretty much written in here. Oh, there is one more thing. In order to make sure that over time our level doesn't become absolutely full of bullets flying into eternity, we need to add an event on the bullet. Okay, we're going to add an event on the bullet. We could add it on the tank, but this one is very, very specific to the bullet, so we're actually going to add it on that. So it's the outside room event. When this bullet gets outside the room, it is going to destroy itself. And we're going to add another thing to the object tank player. We'll add the outside room here. Oh, intersect boundary, sorry. We're going to add intersect boundary event. And when that happens, we're going to wrap around. Now this, it's easier just to do this with drag and drop. I'm going to add this wrap around in both directions. So now what should happen, hopefully, is I should be able to drive my tank from one side of the room to the other. We can't see that the bullets are actually not there, but they are. So I can drive out, come in the other side. And it's looking pretty good. Okay, next video is going to be a more advanced one. It will be optional, so you can skip it. But if you want to know how to make it so that this turret rotates a lot slower towards the mouse, rather than just pointing directly at it, then you can watch that next video and get an idea of how to do that. It will make the bullet effect a little bit better, okay, because the turret won't be rotating as fast. So I'll do that in the next tutorial.